This is Joe Pearson, the project planner for this application, and this is a presentation for the River Park Boulevard Electronic Billboard Project, filed by Lars Sugstad for Outfront Foster Interstate. The applicant requests a special use permit, development agreement, and specific plan amendment to allow for the installation and operation of an electronic billboard on an approximately 0.25 acre undeveloped site located between the US Highway 101 and River Park Boulevard, approximately 850 feet north of Vineyard Avenue in the northern portion of the city. The special use permit allows for the development of an electronic billboard that would include a digital display of advertisements of various businesses, activities, services, or products. The top of the billboard would be approximately 60 feet in height above the ground, and the dimensions of the electronic billboard sign would be 14.5 feet by 48.5 feet in width. The electronic billboard would have a two-sided LED digital display that would have dimensions of 14 feet in height and 48 feet in width. The special use permit will also include minor landscape improvements within the adjacent Caltrans right-of-way. These will include the removal of the existing eucalyptus trees and planting of alternatives subject to Caltrans approval. The proposed development will allow for the use of city property for the purpose of a freeway adjacent digital display billboard and outline the required public benefits to be provided by the future development. The specific plan amendment would amend the River Park specific plan to allow for freeway adjacent digital display billboards within the River Park specific plan. As previously mentioned, the project is located between US Highway 101 and River Park Boulevard, approximately 850 feet north of Vineyard Avenue in the northern portion of the city of Oxnard. As shown here, the project site is currently undeveloped city-owned property within the River Park specific plan area directly adjacent to the freeway. The area surrounding the project consists of a mix of residential and commercial land uses. To the west of the project site, across US Highway 101, is the Esplanade Commercial Shopping Center. To the southeast are retail commercial uses adjacent to Vineyard Avenue. These commercial and retail uses are zoned River Park specific plan. On the northeast side of River Park Boulevard is a place of worship and some single-family residences, which are part of the El Rio West neighborhood, and zoned as multi-family residential plan development and single-family residential plan development. To the north are the 2- and 3-story Paseo del Rio apartments, which are also part of the River Park specific plan. And further to the northeast within the River Park specific plan are additional apartments that are 3 stories, and beyond the apartments is the Collection Shopping Center. The table here summarizes the land uses and zoning designations of the project site and adjacent properties. As mentioned, the project site's zoning designation is River Park specific plan, and the land use designation is regional commercial. a little bit of background. On June 18th, 2019, the City Council approved and authorized the mayor to execute an exclusive negotiation agreements, or ENAs, with Clear Channel Outdoor LLC and another with Outfront Foster Interstate LLC, both for potential digital display billboard sites. Under the terms of the ENAs, both companies were given exclusive rights to negotiate with the city for an initial 6-month period with 2 additional 6-month terms if projects were being diligently pursued. These were extended again on November 17th, 2020, and then again on June 7th, 2022, as the City Council determined that significant enough progress had been made to amend the ENAs to grant another 6-month period, as well as provide the city manager with the authority to extend the ENAs for an additional 2 6-month terms if the projects were being diligently pursued by the parties. Concurrent with the processing of this project, the city is taking the lead in processing amendments to Article 9 advertising signs of the city of the Oxnard City Code to permit freeway adjacent digital display billboards on parcels designated as commercial, industrial, or public facilities within 400 feet of the U.S. Highway 101 right-of-way within the city of Oxnard, and an amendment to the River Park specific plan to allow for signs in accordance with the Oxnard City Code, as previously mentioned. The installation and operation of the individual electronic billboards under this ordinance would require the approval of a special use permit and development agreement. No free adjacent digital display billboards would be placed at a distance of less than 100 feet from the property line of any residentially zoned parcel. All freeway adjacent digital display billboards would have a maximum base display area of 14 feet in height and 48 feet in width, and would be oriented primarily for viewing from the adjacent freeway. They would also have a maximum height of 55 feet as measured from the pavement level of the adjacent freeway to the bottom of the digital display billboard, or 80 feet overall to the top of sign, again measured from the adjacent pavement level of the freeway. Each freeway adjacent digital display billboard would be separated from every other freeway adjacent digital display billboard by at least 2,000 feet, with a maximum of 5 to be allowed in the city, subject to city council approval. With regards to background on the River Park specific plan, the specific plan was adopted by City Council on September 10, 2002, together with the General Plan Amendment, Zone Change, Annexation, Development Agreement, and EIR certification related to the River Park specific plan approval. The original River Park specific plan allowed for the phased development of approximately 2,800 dwelling units and 2.5 million square feet of commercial development. The original River Park specific plan was developed following the design principles of new urbanism and smart growth, which generally emphasized higher density development and importance of physical design. There have been 7 previous amendments to the River Park specific plan that have been approved, the most recent of which was earlier this year, or earlier last year. The project site is located on an approximately 0.25 acre undeveloped site located between the US Highway 101 and River Park Boulevard. The proposed site improvements include the installation of the electronic sign. Staff has reviewed the proposed sign and determined it would not have a significant impact on the future development of the city-owned parcels in the area, should they be developed in the future. Also, as the sign is controlled primarily remotely, no parking is required. In the rare event on-site work is required, there is sufficient space on site. This is an elevation of the proposed sign. The pole would extend approximately 40 feet below ground and approximately 45 and a half feet above ground. The portion of pole above ground would be painted primarily gray, except for the upper approximately 10 feet, which would be black. The pole design has been kept simple with the gray color to minimize the visual impact of the pole itself. The top of the billboard would be approximately 60 feet in height above the ground, and the dimensions of the electronic billboard would be 14.5 feet in height and 48.5 feet in width when including the border. These renderings of the proposed signs, as viewed from the north and southbound lanes of Highway 101, and as well as from the nearby residential project, provide an overall visual for what the proposed sign would look like once installed. To allow for the installation of these signs, the existing eucalyptus located on the north side of US Highway 101 are proposed to be removed, which would require Caltrans approval because the trees are located within the US Highway 101 right-of-way. In addition, the project includes the removal of all deadwood located in the vicinity of the existing eucalyptus trees. The project includes the placement of small multi-trunk accent trees with a maximum height of 15 feet, along with low ground cover and shrubs to replace the eucalyptus being removed. The proposed development agreement will allow for the use of city property for the purposes of a freeway adjacent digital display billboard through a lease agreement. The agreement would also outline the required public benefits to be provided by the future development, and this is currently being provided through payments to the city. However, the city council will be the final decision maker on the required public benefits. The last component of the project is the River Park Specific Plan Amendment. The amendment would add the Type 7C freeway adjacent digital display billboard building type, provide development standards for Type 7C freeway adjacent digital display billboards, and adjust the landscaping requirements to remove freeway planting requirements while billboards are proposed. Lastly, the River Park Specific Plan would defer to the Oxnard City Code for specific standards related to the freeway adjacent digital display billboards. The city's 2030 general plan designation for the subject site is commercial regional uses, which allows retail, commercial, governmental, and residential uses. The proposed use is commercial. Consistency with the 2030 General Plan is defined as the relationship between the 2030 General Plan policies and the project. Many policies are directly or indirectly applicable to the proposed project. Some of the key policies are shown here. The project has been designed to be consistent with the proposed development standards and applicable mitigation measures of the proposed ordinance. These include the separation requirements from residential uses, limitations on illumination levels, and based on the photometric analysis provided, the light levels at the existing multifamily residential uses and the current multifamily uses that are being processed would be less than 0.1 foot candles. Because the light level will be less than the 0.5 foot candles, which the MND determined would be the significance threshold, the project would result in less than significant impacts related to lighting. The proposed project site in River Park is located within the designated urban village, which contains other urban uses compatible with large-scale advertisement. Also, as the sign is located along the freeway corridor, which contains other similar signage, including the collection sign, the auto center sign, and the Esplanade sign. The proposed signs would be consistent with the overall character of the area. The proposed DA only allows for the use of city-owned property and outlines the required public benefits to be provided by future development. No other physical development is proposed or required under the DA, and therefore it does not conflict with the general plan land use goals or policies. The project's consistency with the general plan policies is further detailed in the staff report and attachments. The proposed project, based on the information provided here in this presentation and in the staff report, has been determined to be consistent with the general plan and the property's land use designation. As previously noted, the city is concurrently processing a ordinance amendment to allow for freeway adjacent digital display billboards. The proposed ordinance amendment includes development standards which will be applicable to all freeway adjacent digital display billboards developed within the city. As shown in the staff report, the proposed project has been designed to be consistent with the proposed ordinance. As a condition, the approval of this project is contingent upon the city's adoption of the proposed freeway adjacent digital display billboard ordinance, as well as the development agreement. Additionally, the project must comply with the final ordinance as adopted. Therefore, if any changes occur to the proposed development standards, the project would be required to be amended to bring it into compliance. An environmental consultant under the supervision of planning division staff prepared a ISM&D which evaluated potential environmental impacts of the proposed project. The ISM&D was prepared by the Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. The project was routed for a 30-day review period. The city did receive 4 comment letters on the draft ISM&D. Those comments and responses to those comments have been included in the final M&D. and changes have been made to the draft MND for the final MND based on comments provided. The final ISMND includes a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which details the process to implement the required mitigation measures, which I will touch on more later. And after the implementation of the standard conditions and mitigation measures, all potentially significant impacts would be reduced to less than significant levels. The MND found that the implementation of the proposed project would result in potentially significant impact associated with biological resources, cultural resources, and noise on wildlife species. Mitigation measures have been required to reduce each of these potentially significant impacts to less than significant. The mitigation measures that have been required within the MND would reduce potentially significant impacts. These mitigation measures include conducting a pre-construction survey for active bird nests and conducting a focused protocol survey for least spells vario, and monitoring and collecting, if necessary, any discovered archaeological and paleontological resources. After the implementation of the required mitigation measures, the potentially significant impacts would be reduced to less than significant. No remaining significant impacts would occur. With respect to aesthetics, although less than significant lighting impacts would occur, the MND includes mitigation measures that are recommended to further reduce less than significant lighting impacts. These measures include allowing for the remote shutoff in the event of malfunction and conducting illumination level verification tests. With the inclusion of the mitigation measures for the areas noted above, the project would not have a significant impact on the environment. A community workshop was held on December 20th, 2021. Public notices were posted on site and notifications were mailed to the River Park neighborhood. Approximately 2,000 notices were mailed. The meeting was held online. 8 members of the community attended this meeting and 2 members spoke on the items. The video for the workshop was also posted on the city's website for members of the public to view separately. The primary concerns identified at the community workshop was related to general allowance of electronic billboards and potential lighting impacts. Both aesthetics and lighting impacts were analyzed in the environmental document, and it was determined that with the implementation of the project mitigations, the impacts would be less than significant. There was also a request for additional site renderings showing the sign from the adjacent residential, which was prepared by the applicant and has been included in the staff report attachments. Additionally, for the Plan Commission hearing, a newspaper notice was published, on-site posting was done, and a notice was mailed to property owners within 300 feet. Based on the information provided in the staff report and this presentation, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council adopt a mitigating negative declaration, MND 2202, and adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council approve Planning and Zoning Permit 267005 for the development agreement, and adopt a resolution recommending City Council approve Planning and Zoning Permit 263002 for amendments to the River Park Specific Plan, subject to certain findings and conditions, and adopt a resolution approving Planning and Zoning Permit 2507 for the special use permit, subject to certain findings and conditions.